Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is Eric. I'm the account manager at Connecting Up in TechSoup New Zealand. We're part of the Info Exchange Group, a not-for-profit social enterprise that tackles the biggest social challenges by the creative use of technology. For those of you that haven't attended a webinar session with us before, Connecting Up and TechSoup New Zealand facilitate training of online calendars, webinars, workshops, boot camps, and webcons to help the social sector upskill in all digital areas. And you can check out more on the training and education menu on our website for more details. Today, I'm really excited to welcome you to join today's webinar, which is Understanding Marketing Automation and Personalization. Thanks, Ryan, which is being presented by Ryan Jones. As the CEO and founder of Refuel Creative, Ryan Jones is a certified marketing professional with over 20 years experience in the industry. Ryan has spoken at several conferences across Australia and Southeast Asia and shared his expertise in digital marketing, web design, and Google Ads. Now, before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping here for myself. All the lines are going to be muted, so if you've got any questions, go ahead and type that into the questions box and I'll pass those through to Ryan. We'll both be able to see those and we'll have opportunities to address your questions throughout the webinar. We encourage you to ask as many questions as you can. We love it when these sessions are interactive and no question is silly, so don't be shy. Go ahead, type it in the questions box and we will go ahead and see that for you. Now, if you've got any technical issues during the webinar, please also type that into the questions box. I'll be on standby and I'll be here to help you out with those as those go on. Just a quick note though, if you're on a Wi-Fi connection and if you've got multiple programs open, that can sometimes affect the quality of the audio and video streaming. So just shut down the other programs that you have open if you can, just so that you have the best experience that you can today. Now, this webinar is being recorded and a link to the recording and the slide deck is going to be sent out to you following this webinar. Should be uploading that within a business day or two following today, so keep an eye out for an email from myself later this week with those details. Otherwise, last reminder, there's going to be a short survey at the end of the webinar. If you've got a spare minute, if you could fill that out and share your feedback, that would be much appreciated. Otherwise, that's it from me now, so I'll hand it over to Ryan. Thanks.
Thank you, Eric, and thanks everyone for joining us this morning. Now, like every good webinar or a presentation or explanation about marketing automation, I want to start in the most logical place possible, and that is my feet. So it seems a bit weird to start there, but I have weird feet, so I thought I'd talk about them for a bit. Now, I have weird feet. They're kind of like some kind of hybrid combination between a duck's foot and a flipper. Like, they're giant. They're so big and broad and flat. I would probably make a good swimmer, but yeah, it hasn't been high on my list of things to do. And you know, I'm sure there's a heap of people on this webinar today. I'm sure some of you can kind of relate to having just weird feet. Now, when you have weird feet, something magical happens when you get fitted up and you get something that just fits and just works for you. So for me, I found these cool things, right? And you'll notice that I didn't just show you one of these, so that's for a good reason, right? So when you find something that fits, you're really happy with it, you buy a couple of extra pairs if you need a couple of extra pairs. When you need a couple of extra pairs, so you keep a bit of a lookout because they don't go on sale that often. There's not that many of them around. It's a real pain in the neck. So, you know, imagine if you get an email like this in your mailbox. And if you can read this properly, you'll actually see the subject line says, narrow to wide fit, get your perfect fit. Great. That's exactly what I want. I want a nice pair of big wide shoes that I can wear. And I feel like this email, it speaks to me because it's specifically calling out narrow to wide fit. I have a wide fit. Let's do that. So they're recommending a different shoe. I click on the Shop Men tab, and you know what happens? Well, they're sold out. And if I get these emails reasonably often, and every time I click on them, they're sold out, well, I'm getting so many emails in my inbox. And if you're not adding value to what I'm receiving, if you're not actually speaking to me properly in a way that I'm going to convert, then what do? I unsubscribe. And at this point, half of you are probably thinking, yep, I've done that. That's really annoying. Well, maybe a third of you are thinking that. A third of you are thinking, what the hell has this got to do with marketing automation? And the other third of you are probably thinking, what could we have done better? Some of you might be thinking, hey, like we do that. So let's take a step back and move slightly away from my weird feet and go, what do these people actually know about me? Well, they know my name, my address, my gender, my shoe size and my width, my foot arch type. Now that's a weirdly specific thing to know about somebody. I know that, but I've bought shoes from these guys before, so they know that. They know what shoe size I am. They know what gender I am because I've bought a pair of men's shoes from them before. They know my foot arch type because the shoes that I bought were for a particular foot arch type. They know that I prefer a shoe with lots of cushioning because I bought those before. They know when I last bought the shoes. So if they know when I last bought the shoes, then they're going to know that if I bought shoes a week ago, I'm probably not going to buy them again. And I'm really not going to appreciate if they offer me the same shoes at half price. And they also know, like little detail, they know whether I'm subscribed to their newsletters or not. So if they know all of this information about me, what could Brooks as a shoe company have done better in that initial email that I showed you where I unsubscribed? Like what am I actually expecting? Well, here's my little example. So first of all, they've personalized the subject line with my name, and they've made it clear that they know that my size is on sale. So personalization in email subject lines has been proven now to significantly increase your open rates. So automatically, they're speaking to me specifically, and I'm more likely to open the email. And then we're talking about it's time for new shoes. They know it's time for new shoes because I haven't bought a pair in 6 months, and they know that a pair of shoes is going to last about 6 months. And they've even written some text here. Did you know that if you're running daily, you should replace your shoes every 3 months? So hey, it's time to replace your shoes because you're using them, right? And then they have the new shoes that they're trying to sell me there that prompts me to say, hey, you might try these new ones because they are also the kind of shoe you buy. You buy a neutral cushioning shoe, so you are more likely to enjoy these than if we're trying to sell you another shoe that's only available in a narrow fit. Now you can see straight away, like this email is speaking to the person on a clear, personalized level based on what they need and what they use and the information this company knows about. In most of the cases through this email, they haven't actually shared any of my personal information here. They've just customized the information that they're showing me in this email. Now, let's say that I'd still unsubscribed, okay? I'm a tough audience to impress. So let's say I decide I want to unsubscribe anyway. So what do you do with people like me when I unsubscribe? So if I unsubscribe from your email list, there's a range of different things that you can do with my information afterwards. So you can put me into an ad audience that you can use on Facebook, Google, even LinkedIn to show ads to me that are relevant to what I'm interested in. You can move people between those audiences based on the time since their last order. You can target different ads to them to incentivize new orders. If you're a subscription-based business, to incentivize new subscriptions. You can do a win-back subscription with a new order. So if somebody has previously lapsed from a subscription, from a membership, from a regular giving donation, you can run a campaign to try and get them to come across again. And then finally, for my little example here, you can SMS them. They've unsubscribed from the email, you can still SMS them with an opt-out. With the SMS, you can encourage them to resubscribe. So this is one of the things where I'm going to talk about how you do some of this stuff in a set. But a lot of the conversations you have with people, it's like, okay, well, they're unsubscribed. So people either go, well, they're dead to us and we can't do anything with them. Or they go, oh, well, they've unsubscribed, so I'll just resubscribe them and that'll be fine. You're not allowed to resubscribe people these days. But if they resubscribe themselves, then that's fine. So you've got a range of different options here if they unsubscribe. But hey, what do we do to try and make our marketing more effective if I actually bought a pair of shoes off that new email? So you can put me in an exclusion ad audience for Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn for 3 months. The average age of a pair of shoes is 3 months. I'm not likely to buy another pair in 3 months unless there's some kind of amazing sale on. So if you're running always on type ad campaigns, you don't want to do that. Just wasting your money on me. Again, you can move people between the audiences based on the time since their last order. If it's more than 3 months, they need a new pair of shoes. So you can target them with things like why you should be buying a new pair of shoes, the injury benefits of upgrading your shoes, things like that. You can send a new email for new models that come through that might fit the person's fit and preference. You can send me an email to remind me to replace my daggy shoes. And you can send me a new email if my shoes are in stock or on sale. Tons of different things that you can do. And that is where marketing automation comes in. So we can talk all about the technical ins and outs of what marketing automation is. But at the end of the day, marketing automation is all about getting the right message to the right person at the right time. Yeah, a lot of the time we can get the right message to the right person at the wrong time. They're busy, they're engaged, they've just made a large capital purchase, so they can't make a donation. There's a whole range of reasons why the right person with the right message might still not resonate. The wrong message isn't going to resonate. So we want to be able to get the right message to the right person at the right time. And ultimately, at what we call scale, so when you're sending this out to thousands, millions of people at a time, it has to be done through some kind of automation. We don't have enough humans to be able to do that. So what do we consider marketing automation? So we can automate campaign actions and follow-ups based on actions people take. If I had received that email, clicked on the shoes, not bought the shoes, you can follow me up with a particular action from there. And most people on this call, if they've gone to buy something online, would have received a pretty common example of marketing automation, which is the cart abandonment email, where you get an email, the next day, a few days later, whatever it is, saying, hey, can you come back and we'll give you free shipping or something like that. It allows you to personalize and contextualize communication at scale. So if you've got a database, even of a few thousand, it's very unlikely that you're going to be in a position to be able to personally send out 1,000 different emails to 1,000 different people. But marketing automation is at a different level to things like throwing in a personalization token somewhere. You see in the example email I showed you, I put a personalization token, the name, in the subject line, but then the rest of the information in the email was much more tailored. Like I was showing particular product, I was showing particular messaging that's relevant. We really want to personalize that messaging so that we get that conversion. One of the big things that we like about marketing automation is it helps small marketing teams deliver big impacts. You can set all of these things up, you can run tests, and you can run them on a regular basis then. You don't actually need the resources of a big team to be able to do all of this on a regular basis. And finally, it doesn't replace your humans. We like humans, we need humans, we have lots of humans here, but it does allow you to focus the personal touch where it's going to be most valuable. You know, if this was a sales conversation, we would do something in marketing automation called lead scoring, and we would try and put our sales team in touch with the most valuable people that are most likely to buy, not necessarily everyone. So if that's the what of marketing automation, then the next question is why. So some people would be asking why, other people are going to be like, this is amazing, let's get into it. But the why here is to an extent the same as the what. The why is still delivering the right message to the right person at the right time, making our marketing as effective as possible, increasing those conversion rates, increasing those donations, those purchases as much as possible. But the other side of this is, like I said before, you can't perform every action manually. It's not realistic. It's not financially viable if you have to pay those people to do that. And you can't do it in a timely fashion. So, you know, by the time you've sent out those 1,000 emails, that might take you a week, but it would have only had impact on the first day. So these days, old-fashioned bulk email, sending out the MailChimp on the first Friday of the month type thing just doesn't cut it anymore. It's got to be more specific and relevant. So before I go into the what can we do with it, have we got any questions at this point, Eric?
No questions as yet, Ryan.
Sweet. All right, so let's talk about what we can do with marketing automation. And don't get me wrong, it's very similar to what we can currently do. So let's look at all of the basics that we can do. So we can send emails. We've been able to do that for years, so it's fine. We can send SMS. And with marketing automation, we can link those sequences up. We can add people to ad audiences, like I talked about before. And using your customer data with people like Facebook and Google these days is almost essential. We can connect to people on LinkedIn automatically once they've made a donation. We can register people for events and for webinars at different platforms. We can assign leads. So if we've got a fundraising team that's working with different leads on requests and capital donations, we can assign those automatically. And we can send notifications to our team so that people know when something has happened, when a prospect is looking at our website, things like that. And again, like the thing with marketing automation is we can link these together and we can do all of these in a single flow. So I'm going to send you an email. You don't open the email, so I can send you an SMS. You don't click on the link in the SMS, so then we're going to put you on an ad audience. But if you did click on the link in the SMS, we're going to put you into a different ad audience. And so we can create this big tree structure, this big flow chart that takes you to where you need to go in the process. So basics are cool, right? But let's push this a step further. So we can use merge tags, okay? So simple things like name, company name. We can customize the send time of the email. So now we're getting interesting. So we use a piece of software that goes through our CRM, figures out what time every single prospect in our CRM opens their email and goes, okay, Eric is most likely to open his email at on Wednesday, 3 p.m. So when I'm going to send Eric an email, it's only going to go to him at Wednesday 3 p.m. Whereas somebody else might open their email Tuesday at 2 p.m. So I don't know about the people on the call, but I think everybody in marketing has had an argument at some point about what time they should send out the newsletter that week. It'll be most effective if we send it out Thursday at 4 p.m. No. MailChimp were trying to push everybody to send it at Saturday morning at 9 a.m. for a while. But imagine if you could send it out to everyone over the course of a week at a different point in that week. We've done this and it works extremely effectively. You can get feedback when it's relevant. So, hey, did you like that email? Hey, you bought those shoes. We know you bought those shoes. You've had a couple of weeks in them. Can you leave us a review? So we can improve the customer experience. We can send you out instructions, helpful tips, other ways that you can get engaged. And we can improve the relevancy of communication so that you're more likely to appreciate them, stay connected, and stay engaged. So let's move into personalized content. So this is about where we talk about showing the right content to the right people. So we've already talked about ad audiences, and with our ad audiences, we can make sure that we're showing the right ads to the right people. But you can also do things like smart content. So smart content takes what we know about a person. So whether it be certain parameters, whether it be a persona that we're targeting, and lets us change the content that we're showing them so that we're showing them the right content. So we would use smart content to display different paragraphs of text, different images, different calls to action based on what we know about them. We use HubSpot to do this, and in HubSpot land, we would take those people, we would put them into a list that meets certain criteria, and then we would automatically show different content to people on that list. We would then display that information in a range of locations. So the landing pages, our website, our web page copy, our email information, our email copy, call to actions that we use wherever they are, and even those ad audiences, like I said. So it sounds like it might be a bit of work, and it can be a bit of work to get set up in the first place, but it can also be a really illuminating process to just go, oh my God, here's my persona. I've just had a light bulb moment where we now need to be talking to our personas about this. So it's a hugely valuable process, but the bigger why here is that we want to do this so that people actually engage with our marketing. So that the content that we're putting out there is relevant to the people we actually want to talk to and that we're actually targeting. And also we want to look at providing a great customer experience. So, okay, that's great, but what does that actually mean? So if we measure it, what we're looking at here is improved open rates, so for our emails, improved click-through rates for emails and ads, improved conversion rates, improved ad spend efficiency and return on ad spend, and improved visibility over our results. People who know about you, more likely to repeat purchase, more likely to then be able to use that data to effectively target people like them, which puts us in a much stronger position for our advertising. All right, no questions yet, so we'll get cracking into the tech stack. So if you want to do this, my advice here is to make sure that you try and get the tech stack right from the outset. Now, there's a range of different ways that you can do this, from basically spending no money to spending all of the money. Really what we want to do is make sure that we get it as right as possible from the outset, so you don't have to redo it later on. Because when you redo it later on, you can lose some data in that process. You really don't want that. You know, if you're losing activity data on customers and prospects, that's a real pain in the neck. So let's start with the most exciting thing. No, I promise you it's actually exciting. So we want you to start with an audit. So really, what are you currently using in your marketing tech stack? What are you using to currently communicate with your customers? Now, be broad and be deliberately broad here. So let's say you're an organization that does NDIS support and you're using Zendesk to manage your customer support. Chuck it into your audit. Let's see what's in there. Not because we're necessarily going to use that for marketing automation immediately, but we absolutely can use that data over time to go, hey, here's a clump of people that are telling Zendesk that they're really happy with our service. So those are possible advocates for our service. You know, throw in your MailChimp if you're using MailChimp. Put Facebook in, put your phone system in, put your CRM in, put absolutely everything that you can think of that somebody in the organization is using to communicate. And then quietly sob in the corner for a little bit while you realize just how big a list that is. And through this process, you might end up cutting that list down a little bit for future use. Now, we want this list so that we understand getting the tech stack, we want things to talk to each other, because we can't contextualize actions and take different decision paths for marketing automation unless they talk to each other to some extent. So we want to know what we've got so we can figure out what needs to talk to each other. Okay, step 2, let's map our customer journeys. So you want to look at what are your current marketing journeys? Break them down. Do you have a journey for donors, a journey for clients, a journey for referral partners, a journey for government bodies? And then once you've sketched them out, then you can have a look at it and go, okay, well, how can we use marketing automation to improve these journeys? Like, what are the bits that actually don't need a human involved in that step, and we can just automate that step out? And you know, it's at that point where if you're not confident doing this, you can bring in somebody like us to be able to help you identify those opportunities. But particularly if you're on a low budget, there's a lot to be said for just figuring out this part on your own and doing a first pass. But you're not on your own if you don't want to be. So once you've figured out where are the steps where you can automate these actions, then how can we use automation to be able to personalize those journeys? Like, what are the steps where people just feel like they're not heard? They don't take action off of what we sent. They don't really understand the point of the information that we provided them. So we can really drill down on, okay, well, that's an area where automation would be valuable to these people. And then what are the surprise and delight elements that we'd love to add to that process? Yeah, so what would make people love working with us and love dealing with us, because we've just added some tiny little detail into this flow where they just go, that's us. Because we want to be able to provide a better service through this process, not just, you know, send them more emails, but they're targeted. Like, that's the last thing that we want in this process. All right, so now that we've got all of that information, the first actual tech tool that you need to look at is your CRM. So in a lot of cases, you won't have a CRM in place yet. So you really want to look at putting one in place so that you've got that one central repository of all the organization's information. So the core like source of truth for everything that you do. So what we suggest you look out for, if you haven't already got a CRM in place, you want to look for integrations with other tools that you use. So that's where your audit list comes in. Like, do they connect to the tool that you want to use? We recommend you look for the off-the-shelf integrations with the tools you want to use now and in the future. Because if you want to build custom integrations for every single CRM, it's going to become very expensive long-term because you need to support them. You want to look for value for money. So HubSpot do quite a good non-profit discount. Salesforce will donate a couple of licenses to you. So you can really think about where you can get the best deal to get into this world. And then our advice is also to look for as few moving parts as possible. If you've got HubSpot and then you've got 3 different connectors and 4 different platforms that need to be glued together to make it all work, then it's confusing for the user. It's prone to breaking at some point. So we really try and avoid that. So HubSpot and Salesforce are the 2 with the best nonprofit deals. ActiveCampaign is reasonably low price. MailChimp now does CRM. Keep have been around for a while. And I've added Shopify in here because if you're a particular e-commerce focused organization, you likely have all of your customer data in your CRM. Having your CRM in place then lets you use that as your customer data platform so that you can run ad campaigns targeted at people in the CRM. So that's where we think the core is. So the next tool that we need to look at here is your marketing automation tool. So you might pick up a common thread here, but you need to look for integrations with the other tools that you use. So if you're going to invest in a CRM, you want a CRM that will connect in with your marketing tool. And connect in well, not just sort of stick together and sync a little bit of data. You want it to have a good amount of off-the-shelf integrations with tools that you probably want to use in the future. So, if you're looking at a tool like HubSpot and you want to send SMS in the future, but not now, you don't have a current integration, then add that onto your wish list and have a look at what you can get to run SMS in HubSpot. Again, you want value for money. You want ease of use, particularly if the people on this call are the marketing people. You definitely want something that makes your life easier so that you can spend more time on impact. And then finally, you want good quality training materials, because depending on what you buy into, they might offer you up an hour training session when you actually need ongoing training and support. And this is where people like HubSpot have a really good academy where you can learn how to use their tool. Klaviyo have some really good learning documentation and videos. Klaviyo and MailChimp, because they're both reasonably low price, there's a lot of videos on YouTube and other places where you can learn how to use them. So there's quite a good amount of training materials on the internet so that you're not kind of stuck. All right, so that kind of puts into perspective some opportunities. I thought it might be interesting to look at how we do this so that you can get a bit of an idea of what this looks like in reality. So to start with, we use HubSpot. We're a HubSpot partner. We've been using HubSpot for 4 years now. We bought into HubSpot before we were a partner because we liked the fact that it had so many integrations available out of the box. and that was the biggest win for us. But then also being able to do things like give people user licenses without having to pay extra for user licenses, be able to go through and learn everything from their HubSpot Academy. Those were some really big drivers for us in learning it and getting it up to speed. So we use that for storing all of our stakeholder information. It functions as the traffic controller for marketing automation, so we can build out our workflows and we can build out our actions in HubSpot. And then even if it has to talk to a tool that's outside of HubSpot, HubSpot does that for us. It also tracks our return on investment. So we know that this particular workflow is attached to this particular campaign, which drove this many people clicking on it, and it drove this much revenue. So for us, HubSpot is a key tool that we use. Runs our email marketing, our website, our social, everything. One thing that HubSpot doesn't do is SMS. So we use a tool called Sakari to do SMS. And that way we can incorporate it into our workflows, but we can also send one-to-one SMS back and forth from HubSpot using the Sakari add-on. We use Cradle for our phone system. They're a great bunch of New Zealanders who have built out a phone that integrates with HubSpot. So every phone call that's made into us gets logged on a contact record in HubSpot, which means that we can also automate journeys off the back of that. And a really simple example for us at the moment is if you call our office and we miss the call and you leave a voicemail, then we will send you an SMS that says, sorry, we missed your call. We are going to get back to you in the next hour or two. We use Stripe for our credit card payments. And again, those get logged on the contact record. Anything that gets logged on the contact record is then potentially a trigger for a workflow. So you have paid your bill, great. Let's send you an email or an SMS to thank you. We use 7th Sense as an email send time optimization tool. I talked about that a little bit before. Artificial intelligence understands when every one of our contacts in our CRM open their emails, and then we can personalize a whole range of different actions to happen at the time that's most suitable for that person. Because really, there's no point in doing it if it's not going to convenience the person we're trying to communicate to. With our ad audiences, we also use our custom conversion events through Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn. So for us, that means that if we are working on a deal that's not e-commerce in nature, so let's say you collect donations from people on your website, they click a button, they make a donation, Facebook pixel goes off and Facebook knows that they made a donation for $100, everybody's happy. But if you're dealing with bequests, and bequests take quite some time to convert, even when they've said yes and they've put you in the will, it does take some time still to collect that revenue. So those custom conversion events are able to then show us, okay, well, we know that this campaign didn't result in any money this month. A bequest campaign didn't result in any money, but it did result in 50 people that have agreed to give us bequests. We know that that will have revenue for us in 10 years, 5 years, whatever the period may be down the road. But we can now grab that revenue and go, here's the prediction. And we know that that campaign was successful because that's the amount of promised donations. Some other cool things that we do here, so we use a couple of video platforms called 23 and Wistia. So if you go onto our website, we actually can see when people look at our videos. We can see how much of our videos people have looked at, and then we can customize the follow-up based on that information. So if you go to our web, well, let's say we're talking about impact campaigns, somebody goes to the landing page for the impact campaign, they watch 80% of the video, but they don't buy anything, they don't make a donation, they don't convert. We can put them into an ad audience. We can show them ads that play on the same theme that's in that impact video, bring them back to the website, and once they're back on the website, we can get them to make that donation from there. We use Zoom for our video calling. So you wouldn't think of Zoom as a marketing automation tool, but it links into all of this so that we can get insights from our Zoom calls. We can book Zoom calls with people automatically. So there's a range of different opportunities to be able to link that information together and be able to take actions as a result. There's a couple more on that list. I'm going to move on now. But if you've got questions about the tech stack, throw them through to the questions box. And if you've got questions about tools that you use and whether they're going to be relevant here, please send them through and we'll make sure all the questions get answered at the end. So I talked a little bit about why HubSpot before. I want to talk about why we like it. So HubSpot for us is the platform that makes it possible for anyone to be able to afford a decent CRM. And it's really important to know that HubSpot basically, you can get the HubSpot CRM for free. And that's not a non-profit offer, that's an anyone offer. And so that gives you the opportunity to have a good quality CRM that connects in with a range of different other tools without spending a dollar. The ease of integration is a big win there because it connects to nearly anything out of the box. So you don't have to build those custom integrations. You've got a lot of online training and tutorials. You can use it for marketing, you can use it for sales and donations, you can use it for service and support. You can also run your website off of it. So it has everything in one place. So of course it's all in one. So you have less moving parts, less individual subscription fees, and less logins to try and remember and create for people. So when I talk to nonprofits about this and they go, we can't do it, we can't afford it, it's too complicated. This is where like a tool like HubSpot, you can get in there without having big bills and big expenses. Cool. So now I want to talk about an actual non-profit example that we've used and give you an idea of what we've talked about, the possibilities, we've talked about why we're doing it, we've talked about the tools that we can use to do it. Now I want to talk about how we then bring this together and make it work in reality. So here is my flowchart. Hopefully you can see this clearly enough, but my best buddy Eric is going to send this over to everybody at the end of the webinar, so you'll be able to check out the PDF as well. So you can see here, this is our starting point. So the make donation, top left-hand corner, that's our starting point. So somebody to trigger this particular workflow needs to make a donation. Cool. But so the goal of this workflow, and you'll see as we go along here, the goal of this workflow is to convert a one-off donor into a regular donor. So you can see the next step here is that we send them a thank you email, thank them for their donation. Then we send them an SMS. We're thanking them again. Separate process. We're reminding them that we've got their mobile phone, and then we're going to wait 7 days because we don't want to hassle them too much. We don't want to come across too sort of hard sell and pushy. So then we're going to send them an email that talks about the impact of their donation. Your donation did this, or your donation allowed us to do this. Thank you again. This is what it's all about. And in that impact email, we're going to ask them to make another donation, or we're going to ask them to make a regular donation. So upgrade your impact by becoming a regular donor. So then we're going to wait a week. We'll give them a week, because by the time they get it and then they read it, they think about it, it's going to take them a little while. So then we're going to ask us, did they make a one-off or a regular donation? So if they made a regular donation, then the workflow is going to end because it's done what it needed to do. The job of this workflow was to upgrade them to a regular donor, and they've done it, so we're going to end. But you see I've got there in brackets that we're going to enroll them in a regular donor upsell at that point. So we're going to take them out of this workflow, but then they're going to meet the criteria for a workflow where we want them to upgrade from a $10 a month regular donation to a $20 a month donation. Separate, we'll put that to the side, but we don't give up on them just because we're taking them out of this workflow. And then if they've made a once-off donation, we're going to send them an email to much more bluntly ask them to become a regular donor. And this is where organizations with fundraising teams can push this impact a little bit more, because then we can create a reminder for somebody in the fundraising team to call that donor in the next 3 days. And then we're going to, the workflow itself is going to wait 3 days. And then it's going to check the contact record in the CRM, and it's going to go, did anyone actually call these guys? And if the answer is no, then we're going to send an SMS to the team that's doing the calls, or the team leader who's managing the calls, to get them to make the call because no one's done it in 3 days. If they were called, then we're going to go, did they become regular donors? If yes, then we end it and we take them to the regular donor workflow. If they didn't, then we take them back up here to start this whole process again. Now that's a simple way of looking at it. We wouldn't send them the exact same regular donor email again, but we can run through different emails. We can run through different call scenarios. We can run through different time delays between emails and calls and things. We can even grab their points of objection, store them in the CRM, and then customize the next emails based on what their points of objection are. So we can really get quite custom on that. The one step that's been missed off this example is, what if they don't make a regular or a once-off donation? And so you definitely need a third journey here for people that didn't make any additional donation. But sort of that starts to give you an idea of how all of these things can talk to each other, and all of these things can work together to provide you with quite a complex yet timely, relevant marketing journey for a donation workflow. So you'll also see that's pretty simple because we're not doing anything particularly odd, like we're sending emails and we're sending SMS. But can you imagine how difficult that would be to do that yourself manually every time somebody sends something out? It would be terrible. So the tech platform to support something like this, here's one for a for-profit, won a couple of awards. So in this case, what we've done is we've used HubSpot as that central CRM, but you can see here that the key message is that everything links in together. So their phone system links into HubSpot, their advertising links into HubSpot, their videos, their reporting, their billing system, their email send, everything links into that one central repository that allows them to use that information for automating follow-up. So the benefits of this kind of approach, personalizing. So in this case, this client makes software for tradies. And so one of the benefits of this approach, really simple, was showing different content to plumbers than we do electricians. Because an electrician likes to see that we know electricians and show images of electricians. Plumber likes to see plumbers. It allows us to tailor our ad messaging to different stages of the buying process. So people who've never heard of us versus people that are currently in a trial versus people that are on a free plan that we want to upgrade to a paid plan. We can personalize our email send times. And in the case of this organization, before we were personalizing their email send times and after, we were able to recover about 20% of the database that had become dead to them. So by dead to them, I mean those people who don't open the emails, they don't click on anything in the emails, but they don't unsubscribe either. They just get the newsletter and do nothing with it. So they're so disengaged, they don't take any action. We then have the ability to recover them. So all of a sudden they're part of our audience again. It allows us to measure the ROI in one place, particularly having that billing system synced up, because now we know, okay, this is how many paid users we got this month from the Facebook campaign, from the Google campaign, from this overarching campaign for free trials. Doesn't really matter whether the campaign's a platform or whether the campaign's a cross-platform tool. And then finally, you've got being able to link your meetings, your sales approach, and your touch points, conversations that we know when those took place, and we can be more relevant with the response from those. And so here is another example. So in this case, you can see that we send out an email to tradies who used the software before the app launched. So we actually have an audience for that. And then based on whether they become a trial user or not, we can then choose to follow them up. And you can see here the nurture delivery time optimization. So this is going to customize when this email is sent. And so then the follow-up email ends up having a higher click-through rate than the first email because the time is personalized. So what were the results of that? So for this particular client, they had a 633% increase in the deals that were created, a 256% increase in the deals that were closed. They re-engaged with that 20% of their dormant subscribers. So they did not re-engage with all of their subscribers, but they did re-engage with about 20% of them. And then your visibility over the return on investment for each channel so that they can get that efficient growth. So this is a startup, they've basically got no money. That's how startups work. So they need to try and make sure that they're using every dollar as efficiently as possible. So I've got a couple of questions, but I just wanted to cover off my key takeaways before I take the questions. So the first one here is that technology really is relatively easy now. So I recommend that you focus on the journeys more than the technology. But that said, get the right tech stack from the outset so that you can focus on the journeys and the people rather than the technology. The tools that you use don't have to be expensive and the ROI can be huge, but it's also not going to do everything for you. You've still got to build out the workflows. You've still got to tell it what to do, essentially. So I have a couple of good questions here. So I'm going to start with a question about why have you chosen HubSpot over MailChimp? So the really easy answer for that one is when we started with HubSpot, MailChimp didn't offer a CRM. So MailChimp wasn't an option. So now now MailChimp have got a CRM. I would definitely look at comparing the HubSpot CRM to the MailChimp CRM and to the others that are out on the market, and really considering which one is the right one for you. With MailChimp, their CRM appears to be free as well, but it's only one user. So just check what the restrictions are there. I know there are a couple of free CRMs where they're free, but they only give you 1 or 2 users per month. So they're basically of no use when they're free, but they're good for an extended demo. The HubSpot one, the number of users is virtually unlimited, but you can only send out 2,000 emails a month on the free plan. So, there's ways that you can use that effectively. I would test them both and see what works for your particular requirements. I definitely, the free plan on HubSpot's only going to give you 1 seat. You're going to need more than that for sure. Somebody here has found Zapier incredibly useful for connecting systems. It's even useful for automating things within MailChimp that MailChimp itself doesn't even automate, like tags. Do I have any concerns about Zapier? So, funny thing about HubSpot, we automate things that HubSpot doesn't do in Zapier sometimes. If you don't know what Zapier is, it's basically a piece of software that can sit in the middle of almost any different pieces of software these days, and it can grab information from one and move it over to another, automate actions, automate data transfer, things like that. What we have found over the last couple of years is that Zapier does, because Zapier is not an official integration a lot of the time, Zapier can break in the middle. So you need to be aware of that, and you need to just pay really close attention to your Zapier account, particularly if these workflows are mission critical. So an example was a couple of years ago, somebody changed the version of their Zapier integration and disabled the old one. The old one was working just fine, but that meant that you had to completely redo the integration between Zapier and whatever tool it was. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. And that's always going to be a concern when you're using a third-party integration. So it's just something to keep in mind. But if you are using a range of different tools in your stack and there's no simple way to integrate them, then Zapier can be very helpful to be able to create that link. The other one that's gaining momentum at the moment, probably might overtake Zapier at some point, is this piece of software called Make. And they're playing in the same space where they're trying to be a more robust version of Zapier to an extent. Are there any other questions this morning?
Doesn't look like we have any other questions coming in through Ryan, although we did have some feedback for that, which was thanks. That was really useful advice, RE Zapier. So thank you.
Okay. No worries. Well, if there's no more questions, I'll hand it back to you, Eric.
Thanks, Ryan, and thank you for presenting. That was an awesome webinar. So thanks again for that, as always, and thanks everyone for showing up. Great to have you here attending this webinar today. As mentioned, this webinar was being recorded and you are going to get a copy of the slide deck. So keep an eye out for an email from myself. I should be sending that through either tomorrow morning or the day after, but it'll have a link for you to access all of that if you want to view any of that again. Otherwise, there is going to be a short feedback survey that'll be launching in just a minute or so when I close the webinar. So if you could spare half a minute or so to fill that out and send us your feedback, that would be awesome. Otherwise, that's it from me. thank you all very much, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks again, Ryan.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.